Hello, and welcome to Model Philosophy. Today, we are continuing on our exploration of a philosophy series entailing the emergence of Machina, Sapientia, a post-anthropocentric philosophy looking toward an era in which intelligence is no longer human alone. Today is part 2, Adaptation as a Human Constant. Part 1, The False Distinction of Reason. Aristotle claimed reason distinguishes humans from animals. The separation is humans deliberate about justice, truth, and a good life. People have repeated this claim as foundation for centuries. However, nature shares reason more broadly than we often acknowledge. Animals demonstrate rudimentary reasoning by solving problems related to hunger and threats. What separates humanity may not be reason itself, but the ability to adapt to what we invent. Humanity has been shaped by the seasons and the soil, by winters and abundant harvests, but we're also shaped by the artifacts we scatter across our landscapes. The clock rearranged life into hours and schedules. The market remade entire societies around the ledger. The city altered how we see ourselves in relation to one another. These are not the world's accidents, but our own creations, environments to which we had to adapt and change. We survive not only in nature, but in the aftermath of our own inventions. Each technology alters the ground beneath us, and each generation learns to walk differently upon it. Reason separates us from the animals, but it is also our adaptation that explains our survival. We exist by yielding to what we have made, learning to breathe inside the atmosphere of our own construction. Part 2. The invention that remakes the inventor. Lewis Mumford argued that the clock was the true engine of modernity. We interrupted the natural rhythms of light and season into measurable units when we mechanized time. Labor was broken into shifts, prayer into slots, commerce into minutes. Our world, once regulated by the slow drift of the shadow, the seasonal changes with their fairs and celebrations, and the ability to harvest, were now all governed by the mechanized tick of the clock. Technological momentum is coined as a term by Thomas Hughes that refers to the irreversible ways that systems combine with infrastructure, institutions, and daily habits. Electricity through every wall, and soon it is unthinkable to return into the darkness. Railways curve through fields and into villages, and lives are tied to the station clock. The artifact becomes the environment. What begins as an invention becomes part of the stream of our lives. The printing press was a remarkable technology when the rollers started, but it did not alter society until its pages multiplied, persisted, and eventually became invisible. It was that warning that David Egerton explained. The history of technology is not the history of invention, but of use. It's not the spark of creation that changes history, but the slow eventual grasp of adoption, the way a technology or medium moves from novelty to necessity. We live in the atmosphere of what endures, not so much in the moment of discovery. This recursive pattern is an insight into the ways in which humans have adapted through generations. Our inventions compel us as much as they serve us. There is a demand that we inhabit the systems of our inventions create, and we adapt to them, change our rhythms and structure to fit their existence. Artificial intelligence will be no exception. It is already changing the solutions we attempt and the problems that we imagine. Once embedded, it will not feel like an addition, it will feel like the clock or electricity or the wheel, something we can't live without. Part 3. Adaptation as dislocation. This pattern of recursive adaptation carries costs we don't see until after we've embraced the change. The clock gave us punctuality, but it detached life from the slow drift of the season and the motion of the sun. The press spread literacy, but it also spread heresies and pamphlets of hate. The radio gave companionship to the isolated, but it also allowed propaganda into every household. The internet granted access to vast acres of knowledge, but it shouts at us with a million voices such that knowledge itself becomes hard to discern. Each invention created a path, but closed another. Each forced us to adapt and survive inside the worlds that we had created, adjusting each other to structures that we did not foresee. With artificial intelligence, the precipice may be steeper. For the first time, this tool is not just an extension of our hands or eyes, but thinking and reasoning. The plow extended muscle, the telescope extended sight, the computer extended calculation. But machine learning grasps at judgment, inference, and even imagination. This technology unsettles what we do, but also forces us to change how we come to think. Will we adapt because adaptation is our constant? But the question that we have to ask is, what recursive adaptation are we willing to make by outsourcing reflection? Part 4. Uneven futures. Adaptation, while a constant in human history, is never uniform. The literate elite of the 15th century thrived, while the peasantry remained oral and watched the written word pass them by. The Industrial Revolution enriched industrialists and inventors and broke the bodies of workers, turning villages into slums and trades into servitude. The Digital Revolution widened the gap between those fluent in code and those left voiceless before the machine. This created a new group of middlemen who spoke the language of systems, while others became invisible inside them. Each time the wheel turned, it has lifted some and discarded others. Artificial intelligence does promise the same. It will become a power tool in the hands of those who know how to utilize it, extending their reach and accelerating their designs. For others, skills long mastered become obsolete, roles hollowed out, identities connected to tasks that no longer exist. What was once a source of pride becomes just empty redundancy. The self was built around labour find itself displaced. Adaptation, as constant as it is, never arrives as freedom to all. It arrives as necessity. We submit to it because it leaves us no choice. Between the stories of progress, there remain the quieter stories of those who adapt only by losing. Part 5. The second recognition. If the first recognition of coexistence is that we cannot abandon invention, the second is that humanity endures by reshaping itself to survive what it has made. We creatures of nature, shaped by invention, and our history is a long record of bending to environments of our own design. Cities changed how families lived and related. Markets changed how goods were traded. Machines changed how people worked, and networks made distance less important. Each invention was an instrument, but it was also a condition, and each change required us to learn different ways of being human. Living with artificial intelligence will be the same. The question is not if we will adapt, but what kind of humans we will become when we do. Will we be lessened by the burdens we relinquish, or remade into an entity yet unnamed? History does not guarantee balance, only the knowledge that survival demands submission to the shape of something new. Thank you for joining us. This has been Model Philosophy. My name is James. is the second part of a series where we're exploring multiple intelligences. No, it's not. This is a series where I'm making up bullshit.